Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Squall. It's a Tier 8 Premium Czech light tank. It's located on the southwest spawn of Westfield and it's under the command of Seeker Pain Samaj of DHELL clan. And alongside him in the other spotting light tank is an ELC M90. Game on! Well, the reason I mentioned the ELC is because this tank was actually built in response to a program for a light tank that was airborne in NATO. And so they built this tank with two 50mm guns capable of spitting out rounds that would do 8 hit points of damage, but incredibly quickly, so they could effectively shred an enemy tank to pieces in seconds. Now he's got standard AP, which is, as I said, capable of 8 alpha, and they've got 182mm of pen, and with the premium rounds he's capable of doing 6 alpha and 236mm of pen, and on that he's also got the HE rounds, and he's loaded those at the moment. They're capable of 16 alpha, so a bit more, but they only penetrate 15mm, so they're only really useful against light-skinned vehicles. And I get the feeling that he actually loaded the HE because he expected to come across the enemy light tanks. And well, he did find the Saladin, which is on a British light tank, and that guy took considerable damage. But at this moment, he's looking around the battlefield trying to find where the enemy is, and he's supplying that information to his teammates. So he's currently still got the HE because he doesn't know who he's going to meet. Just see a Lorraine 40 ton. In fact, he's not spotting that Lorraine. Some of our teammates are spotting those. And no, he is spotting those guys. He's got the CVS, he's got the bounty coated optics and the bounty exhaust. And he's reloaded. He's loaded the AP rounds rather. That will give him slightly more pen, of course. So if he is going to fire, he could damage those guys. There's 100 rounds in each clip, and he could unload those shells very, very quickly. But the reload time is 19.18 seconds, so he's got 17.21. This tank didn't actually get built in the end. There's economic reasons that they didn't build it. In theory, it could have worked. The thing is that what we're noticing today is that there's a lot of tanks actually engaged in combat which are shredding main battle tanks with autocannons which are capable of doing that. And specifically, I'm talking about what's going on, obviously, in Ukraine. That yes, that some of the American armor personnel carriers are actually capable of taking out the enemy tanks, main tanks. Okay, that LHMTV's moving up. Is he going to fire on the guy? Well, we lost sight of him temporarily. He's got shots on those, but if he does open fire, he is going to be giving away his position, and he would have to move. The good news is those guys are taking fire, and he's marking them for his teammates to shred them. He might open fire if the circumstances requires it. In fact, an enemy tank is really close to him at now, 53 meters. That was almost within auto detection, but he moved away before he got too close. If he does change position, though, we might have to move. It was an IS-22. He's just having a quick check, seeing is he spotted or is he within 50 meters? Well, he is close. So he certainly doesn't want to open fire just yet because it might be the IS-22. In fact, that guy's getting closer again. And so's the enemy ELC. And he just got wiped out, and we spotted for that, so that's more spotting assist. He's up to 5,500, but he needs to be careful. If that IS-22 gets too close, he could be blown. Indian Panzer. Of course, that's a 90mm arm tank. Designed for, of course, the Indian project. Didn't get put through because instead they decided to go with the Vickers version, the VJ-ATA. It's surprising that they haven't put the VJ-ATA in the game, actually. Would have thought the Wargaming would have taken that opportunity and put it in. Because that was a real tank built by the Indians. But I suppose, where do you fit in the tech tree? Does it go in as a British tank or does it go in as an Indian tank? The Indians don't have a tech tree at the moment. Okay, well, those guys have all been wiped out, so now he can move up on the enemy. But he needs to be careful because there might be an enemy really close to him right now. In fact, the IS-22 is a little further away. Now, he could actually get some real damage on this guy. Yes, blasting into his rear, takes the kill. And he didn't even use a full clip, he's popped the reload. So that's his first kill of the game. And those shells were particularly effective. You can see how fast they fire, incredibly quickly. The inch clip reload time is 0.04 seconds. Yes, it's like a tenth of, less than a tenth of a second, a hundredth of a second, 400ths of a second. Okay, so he's now hunting the enemy Arty, which happens to be a GW Tiger, and he's got a top speed of 55 kilometers an hour. It's just reasonably fast, good mobility, low profile. There's the GW, but he needs to get a bit closer. And in fact, the GW goes down, but he got the spotting off it, and that leaves just 3 enemies remaining, and they all appear to be up in the north. Yes, he's just spotted that, so he realised he's going in the wrong direction. There's a lot to be said, actually, for having auto cannons, because they do actually tend to shred all of the equipment on the outside of a tank, and if a tank is blind, it can't fire. It might have a really good 125mm main gun, capable of actually taking out enemy tanks, but if it can't see those tanks, you can't do anything with it. He spotted the Conqueror at distance. His view range is only 380 meters, but with the OTOP optics, bounty optics, he's able to spot it a bit further away. And of course, bounty optics work whilst you're on the move. He's got the camo skill, obviously, because he's a light tank and he wants to remain unspotted. Okay, he's found the Progetto, and he's a one-shot, so yes, he can take that guy out with his autocannons, and he'd probably easily penetrate him, even though he's a heavy tank. And in fact, he's spotted for the kill by the Arty. Our FV3805 got the kill. The Conqueror's facing the wrong way at the moment, and there's the Hurry 1, and he's got a lot of health. In fact, we're going to get auto-detected by the Conqueror, so he takes him out, and he's still got enough shells to take on the Hurry, but he decides he's going to pop the reload, and he's still popping the reload with standard AP. So long as he keeps this guy lit, Arty can help him. And there he is. Okay, so he's keeping the guy lit. And in fact, Arty does help him. Now he tries to fire some rounds at him, but he gets hit by the Hurry's main gun. But now he needs to get alongside him and then blast him with the rest. And that works. And that was an All-X medal as well. And that's the end of the game. It's all over. It's a victory. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was a first ace tanker game for Seeker Savage of DHELL clan in the Squall. You can tell it's the first ace he's ever had. He's got the scrolls underneath. You only get that once. He also got a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, and he did that by just sitting in the bush and watching the enemy tanks at the other side of the battlefield whilst his teammates were damaging them. He got an All-X medal. He took out 2 tanks or tank destroyers with a light tank, at least 1 tier higher than his own. And on top of that, he got patrol duty for being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks whilst they were being damaged. Unfortunately, we don't have the win 8 for this game. I think that might be down to the fact that the data is still not in, or rather the information's not in, but it's very odd that we don't get the win 8 sometimes. Let's have a look at the team score. Well, he didn't get a huge amount of damage because, of course, he only took on 3 of the main tanks or enemy tanks with his autocannon. In this particular battle, the high caliber goes, well, the highest damage goes to the SFAC 105, got 4,171 hit points of damage, but he didn't get a high caliber because he didn't get 20%. Second highest damage in the game actually went to that Ho-Ri. Right at the end, that guy got a cool-headed for surviving some of the shells that actually hit his frontal armor, which is much tougher and more difficult to get through. And so he had to, Seeker Bane Smash had to get to the side of the vehicle to make sure those pens went in. And that guy got 2,997 hit points of damage, with the third place going to the Conqueror with 2,888. When it came to Seeker Bane Smash, he got 728 hit points of damage. But the thing is that he did get 3 kills out of the game, and that puts him in joint second place because the top scorer was the SFAC again with 4 kills. Second place, Seeker Bane Smash with 3 kills alongside the Ho-Ri 1. And when it came to third place, that's the T30 and the FV3805. And that FV3805 did help him by hitting some of the hitting the Ho-Ri to stun him and take away some of his hit points, make him an easier kill. And when it came to base XP, it's Seeker Bane Smash, mainly down to the fact he did so much spotting. He got 1,522 base experience points out of that game. 1,081 went to the SFAC 105, and they were the only 2 players who managed to make it over 1,000 base, with the Gonzalo getting 832 in third place. He fired 173 rounds. Yes, I know it's a lot of rounds, but only 133 of those actually were direct hits and 95 were penetrations. 728 hit points of damage, and all of it at close range. He did receive 1 hit from the Ho-Ri 1, and it was a penetration, of course. The armor on this vehicle is not particularly strong. In fact, the highest armor is on the front of the turret, and it's only 30 millimeters, would you believe it? Everywhere else on the vehicle is only 20 millimeters, so anything touching this vehicle is going to cause damage. 2 enemy vehicles were spotted, 3 enemy vehicles were damaged, and 3 killed, and he got 7,387 hit points of spotting assist in that one, so that's where he got the ace tanker. It's a massive amount of spotting. So combined damage of 8,000 altogether. When it came to credits, he actually earned 118,634 credits, and he also took away 4,794 experience points as well as getting a bonus, because of course this is a premium vehicle, so you get a bonus for premium vehicles. So a very good battle with the Squall. Again, you've got to pick your right targets to actually go against them. It would be very inconvenient if you actually ran out of shells whilst you're trying to take on a tougher opponent, because you're going to take a lot of damage during that 20 seconds whilst you're trying to get the reload in. I think Seeker Bane Smash did the right thing to reload rather than go straight in and attack that Ho-Ri. It not only actually enabled him to get a full magazine clip ready for him, but it also enabled the Arty to soften up the target, stun him, make him slow, and make it easier for him to kill. I think the only mistake he made was actually firing shells at the front of the Ho-Ri 1. Never fire at the front of a Ho-Ri 1, always try to go to the sides of the rear, and that's what worked in the end for Seeker Bane Smash. Hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, please give this video a like, and thank you for watching.